Okay, so tonight we are graced with the presence of Dr. Joseph Thomas, who is a medical doctor with a booming practice on the south side of Chicago. He's OB-GYN, functional medicine, an expert in heart health, and much, much more, which I'm going to let him uh, uh, give you more information about. So without further ado, Dr. T, take it away.
So thanks for the invitation. I don't know if you said individuals wanted me to speak again. Were there any specific questions? If you can, let me know later. But I'm going to do a brief fundamental introduction
Awesome.
because I think we have we're at the point where I think most people can understand that there may be a little something missing with traditional medicine,
Mm.
and that they have done what I recommend, which is each person has to become their CEO of their health and their family's health, chief executive officer. So you got to put on the hat and not have other people take responsibility when you should take responsibility. So I say that's important because over the years, the individuals who I saw make the best change, who attain the best health, all had a fire within them to improve. And that dedication to improvement, I think was one of the main things. If you did not get it right the first time, then you get the loop and then try again. So what we have going for us is that the body, and you know the saying, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, that the body has self-repair mechanisms beyond anything a man could have thought of. And so right within, you have genes that have a purpose, and it looks like from our point of view, some may not be helpful and there's some that are very helpful, but it just depends on the circumstances. So the intelligence that's in your cells is the number one thing you have going for you. Now I say that and I usually ask the question, if anybody scraped their hand or skin or cut themselves in the kitchen, did you consciously have to tell your body how to heal itself? Of course, the answer is no, that it healed itself. But you can hurt it. In other words, you can hinder it by, for example, you don't clean the wound, it's going to get infected and it's not going to heal as well as if you clean the wound. So that principle, do something to help and stop doing things that hinder, is one of the most important principles that I want to talk about today, because it takes a concerted effort for you to look deep within and see, well, what habits and what activities do you have that are hurting your body's healing itself? And I want to go through some of the fundamentals, as I said before, because the number one thing that I think is overlooked, and I like to ask the audience a question, which I'll just skip through and give the answer. I like to ask, does anybody have like a real expensive, nice car? And somebody in the audience has like a nice, expensive car. Then I ask, can you get that car fixed while you're still driving it? No, you can't be driving the car and get it fixed. So that points up to the fact that your body only heals itself when you sleep primarily. And the science has proven deep sleep, the stage of sleep when you're in the deep sleep, is when the body heals itself. And when you're in REM sleep, that's when the brain heals itself. So you have to get an adequate amount of sleep. And everybody has heard, I'm sure, the circadian rhythm, meaning the light and dark cycle determines when your body functions the best. I think everybody's heard of jet lag. When you go through too many time zones, you can get fatigued and out of sort because you've messed up those circadian rhythm or those cycles. And about, I'm gonna say 5 or 6 years ago, they discovered that there are clocks in every single organ and every single cell. And these clocks are synchronized with the main part of the brain that tells your body, when it's the cycle to repair, when it's the cycle to rest. So without getting into further detail, every single cell is being monitored, and your body monitors your thoughts, your body monitors your words, and your body has a plan to heal itself. And I call that plan scarless healing. So we've listed, or we have programs through my practice called Scarless Healing Solutions, because even though, let's pick on your skin again, no one has the same skin that they had when they was a baby or a teenager, or even last year. Your skin replaces itself when you're a baby, like every 28 days, but it might be every 2 months or 3 months the older you get. But those cells get a signal, and then stem cells supply a signal, and then your body automatically knows how to heal itself. So you don't want to disrupt the body's communication. And so we talked about sleep. Now we go to the principle. So there has to be a balance, and I call it from activity and rest. So for those out there who aren't walking every day, and I mean 30 minutes of brisk walk, you can gain the most health simply from being a couch potato, going to walking 30 minutes every day. And I know experts have written papers saying, oh, if you do at least 5 days a week, that's good, or 150 hours a week, that's good. 30 minutes times 5 days, that's 150 hours. But I say you should do it every day, because I'm going to jump over to another topic, which is called the lymphatic system. So I really want to ask the question, how many people know approximately how much blood is circulating in your body? Do we have a chat so people can put an answer in there?
Yes, we do, Dr. Thomas. And let me ask everybody or anybody who has a question for Dr. Thomas to please put it in the chat, and we'll address those later.
Ask how much blood is circulating. There you go. So some might say 12 pints, or whatever number when you look it up. But that question is a setup, because now I want to ask, how much fluid is circulating in your lymphatic system? Any answers? So if your blood circulating has 12 pints, your lymphatic system is 2.5 times that. So that's 36 pints. Okay. That's phenomenal, because the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. Your circulatory system has a pump. That's the heart, right? So for years, that's what they thought. Now we know each of your capillaries, with nitric oxide being released due to the glycocalyx, it opens a little and then it closes a little. It opens a little and then it closes a little. So that's actually helping the blood get back to the heart. Because if you had a heart, if you had a regular, pump that you have for your aquarium, trying to pump 12 pints of blood through tiny capillaries, there's no way the pressure would be high enough. So there's a secondary effect of your capillaries, and that's why people don't understand hypertension is not due to you being missing the drugs that they want to give you. There's something else going on. And we'll come back to that, but I want to get back to the lymphatic system. So what is the pump in the lymphatic system? Any guesses?
The muscles.
Exactly. So you are the pump. So when you walk around, your muscles contract, and that squeezes the lymphatic fluid through the lymph nodes back to the main lymphatic channel that then enters into your venous circulation. So it's thousands of miles. I mean, your capillaries are 65,000 miles of capillaries in every person's body. And the lymphatics are equally as dense. So what does that mean? You can improve your lymphatic circulation by walking every day. So now we're back to, that's why I say every day. The second thing you can do is like jump on a little trampoline, little small 2-3 foot round ones, or you can just bounce. But it's your activity that signals your body that it should heal itself. Because without circulation, I think everybody knows, if you have some stagnant water, bacteria will develop, it'll have a smell to it, versus a freshwater lake or a freshwater stream. So if there's concern, and it should be about detoxing, then one of the main principles is what? Got to walk. So moving right along, when your body is trying to heal something, everyone has heard at some point the what do you want to call it? You know, in that book that some people read on Sunday, it says the life of the flesh is in the blood. So if you look at the blood, you're looking at the very, I call them life force activators, because for your body to heal, you have to put the right ingredients in the blood. That's like not having the right ingredients and you're making a cake or something. It's just not going to be right. So for those who, I don't know, let's just say grew up with certain preferences, you didn't know when you were a kid, because they hadn't done the research, that you actually need approximately 10 servings of fruit and vegetables every day to get the right amount of antioxidants. And if you're exercising, you might need 12 to 15 servings. Like let's say the kids are playing basketball or football on a high school or college, they're really on purpose damaging their bodies. And when you stress muscles, their response is to get stronger. If your muscles get stronger, it needs the right nutrients to actually fix the muscles that's there and respond and grow more muscle. So that's why if you do weightlifting at least once or twice a week, you'll avoid, as you get older, what they call sarcopenia, or the lack of muscles. Because all those individuals, well, let me give you an example. So I use a handheld device that professionally tests your grip strength. And when you squeeze it, you can generate, the average woman, 50, 60 pounds of pressure. The average guy, when they're young, it might be 100 pounds of pressure. But the older you get past 40, your growth hormone starts to decline. And if your growth hormone declines, you're going to start losing muscle mass. So those are the people who, by the time they're in their 70s and 80s, probably have lost at least 20, 30% of their muscle mass compared to when they were in their 20s or 30s. So this is serious because it's something you could do something about it. And for those who want to see proof, I would say look up online Ernestine Shepherd. I tell my patients, I say, you want to see the woman that hurt my feelings? They're like, what? What happened, Dr. Thomas? I put her picture up. She's 86, and she has muscles like a 25-year-old, well, better than a 25-year-old. And her picture before she started, you know, weight training, it's like an average, plump woman. But she's won more championships, and I won't go into the detail, but she works out probably, we would all say, well, that's excessive. Because she'll get up at 4 in the morning and go to the gym and work out, finish her workout, and then she teaches 2 classes during the day. So back to the effort creates the result. So let's get the lymphatic fluid moving around. Let's put the right things in our blood. And then we get to the third thing. So the first was the intelligence in your cells that can heal itself. The second was this what's in your blood that allows your body to heal, the nutrients in your blood. And most people need at least 10 servings a day. And the third thing is flow. For you to flourish, you got to have good blood flow. For you to flourish, you got to have good energy flow. So those are 2 separate topics. And I've talked about how your capillaries start to degenerate, lose the glycocalyx, and a microvascular blood flow is severely compromised. So on a scale of 1 to 10, so far in a year, I haven't had anyone over a score of 4 or 4 point, I forgot now, 4.6. But no one has made it to 5 if they're over 50 and they're not taking the endocalyx. I found that to be very interesting. I can tell you at least in the past year, 100 studies about it, about how it replaces or makes your body revert back to having reserve capillaries in your muscles so that you can exercise better. I've experienced it. But the thing that stood out to me the most, used to be the 2 people I knew that had heart attacks, and they were told they had to have another bypass or 2 more stents in 3 months. Then they took the endocalyx, and in 3 months, they didn't need it. Their vessels were totally open according to the angiogram. So I was impressed, believe me. But I was even more excited to find out 2 or 3 Saturdays ago that the person got up, and I didn't even know what she was going to say, but her story was that she had 70% block, and after 9 days of taking the endocalyx, she only had 20% block. So they woke her up and said, we didn't have to put any stents in. Well, I was floored and flabbergasted because that's not in any textbook yet. With all the studies, that's not going to be in the textbook probably for years, because it is what they call a pattern interrupter. So I went to a couple of hospitals. I stopped by and talked to all the cardiologists that I could to introduce this to them. And about 1 out of 10 had ever heard of glycocalyx. The anesthesiologist, maybe 3 out of 10 heard about it, because that's going to be in their literature, because they know if you give a lot of fluids and other things when you're putting people to sleep, they have found that disrupts the glycocalyx, depending on how fast you put it in. So there's a huge amount of science. In other words, 20 years of research. That impressed me. The patents for these things, 2009. That impressed me, because endocalyx is FDA approved to regrow the glycocalyx. And other guys have separately proven that the better the glycocalyx is, the better your capillaries work. So there are plenty of patients who I have that are total believers, and I could tell because they buy a bottle and try it, and next time they come back, They bought 2 for them, 2 for their wife, 2 for their mom, and 2 for their dad. Well, that's 8 bottles, and the case is only 12. So we're going through the supply much faster than I used to because people are seeing the results. So to recap, the intelligence in your cells is the number one important thing that causes your body to heal itself. It's not the doctor. It's something innate in you. And part of that is that you have I call it Scarlet's healing system, because the 10 or 12 systems that they mention, if you look it up in a textbook, aren't even close to how the body really works. So for those who are older and have a bad blood supply, you can fix it. One of the systems is called angiogenesis system. When you exercise and your body determines, hey, you need more blood flow, even if you fix the capillaries that are there, your body actually makes new capillaries. That's fantastic. That's earth-shattering. Because anybody you've ever heard, even if you don't believe it, but you heard somebody had a medical problem, I call them scars. So they had a scar, and they got the scar to heal. But what scar am I talking about? Anything that they say is a disease or illness is a scar. For example, heart disease is a scar. What's the scar? Poor blood flow. Half the people who die from heart attacks, the blood flow wasn't a problem until those blood vessels went into spasm. Then they had a heart attack from the spasm. Then they had the stroke from the spasm in their blood vessels. Why did they have that? Something made those vessels go on spasm. The most likely thing is stress. So stress causes hormonal changes so that the nutrients in your blood are nullified. What does that mean? If you have a spasm and the blood can't reach it to a certain part of the heart and it doesn't get oxygen, you're nullifying oxygen as a nutrient, and those cells without oxygen are going to what? Slow down working or actually die. And that's what a heart attack is. Death of certain cells. Now, you can have congestive heart failure because the heart as a pump isn't working that well. And that's what I experienced about, trying to count the numbers. It was about 29 to 30 years ago, because my son, who I was trying to carry up the stairs, who I'd done multiple times, got to the point I was out of breath, my ankles were swollen, and I knew that, what was going on. And I said, well, it probably has something to do with this 295 pounds that I had gained. And so I went on vegetarian diet, started exercising, took a bunch of herbs, because I was introduced to herbal medicine as a kid because I had asthma. And so I did all this research, and I made this kind of tea, that kind of tea, comfort tea, whatever they said would work, I would try it. And so even before I went to college, I knew that there were things in the leaves of plants that if you heated it up with hot water, you could extract it. And those active ingredients your body uses to heal itself. I found out later that if you're going to extract the healing out of roots, you have to do a decoction, not just an infusion. So everybody knows you put tea bag in the hot water and 5 minutes later you got tea. Well, if it was roots, you have to boil it for at least 10 minutes and then let it sit for 12 hours. So all those who have tried the detox, there's a tea and they tell you to boil it and then let it sit for 12 hours. So that's the reason why. It's actually science behind it. So I mention this because if you want to get healthier, you got to understand these fundamental principles. The easiest way to get healthy is if you're doing something that's preventing your body from healing itself, stop doing the things that's hindering your body healing itself. I mean, that's so obvious, but we don't think about it. Keep eating the wrong things, but just take the medicine for high blood pressure. That's what most people do. And I ask them all the time, why do you think those French fries is going to help your blood pressure go down? They say, well, I didn't know it would make it go up. I said, well, if you do some research, you'll find when you got that oil at 200, 300, 400 degrees, it oxidizes the oil. In other words, it damages the oil. And when you damage oil, that oil gets into all of your blood vessels and your organs. And so now that's the beginning of atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. Well, it hit me like a ton of bricks because when you're in med school, cadaver lab is when you're looking at the labeled bodies that the professor has dissected so that you can see what's wrong. Then the other half, the students are supposed to dissect it to find out what's wrong. There was a 6-month baby who had died in a car accident, and the professor had opened up the carotid and showed us that baby had plaque at 6 months old. So I try to explain to my patients, if you walk in my office, anyone who walks in my office automatically know you got heart disease. You just don't know it. What do you mean? You got blood vessels that are forming plaque. The muscles in those blood vessels are getting overly thickened due to inflammation. And if you keep doing that, you'll be one of those. The number one cause of death in the United States is heart disease, and it's preventable. So it's important to sometimes shake up your beliefs, set them aside, and look at everything anew, like coming up with a clean sheet of paper to start your plan. And your plan, you have to write down. And then once you write it down, you have to look at it every day and rewrite it so that if your plan is to walk, you have to write that down every morning, when you're going to walk, and then you got to do it. So you have to write down the plan. So it's hard for people to, you know it, but then when it comes to yourself, it's hard to really change because your body basically doesn't want to change. So that to do a change, everybody who's tried it knows it takes a lot of effort to change from one habit to develop a new habit. And the best way is not to focus on the old habit, but to focus on the new habit. So how important is that? That will determine your degree of success 100%. So for those who ever heard of Tesla, you can look up and read about him. Now he was a little obsessed, and I'm not saying, go all the way like he did, but he was stuck on the number 3. This man would walk around his apartment building 3 times before he went in. He would only, if he was going to a hotel or something, he would only get something that was visible by 3. So he said, or somebody, write your goals down 3 times a day. So write them in the morning, write it at lunchtime, and then write them down again before you go to bed. So the point that I'm making is the place where we have our being is a 3-fold universe. It's a 3-fold earth. Heck, even time is 3-fold, past, present, and future. Your body is 3-fold. And at a later time, we'll talk about fixing your brain for those who have memory loss or whatever other problem. And you have to understand, you have 3 brains built into one. So you have the earlier brain stem, then you have the midbrain, and then you have what they call the cortex or the neocortex, which is the most recent development. So if you had the right nutrient, they now know, because they didn't know this when I was in school, they thought once you developed about 25, that was it. Now they know your brain can make 700 new neurons for the hippocampus, I believe, every month. So that means with the right food, the right exercise, with the right nutrients, your memory 3 months from now can be better than it is now. And in fact, at 50, 60, or 70, you can develop your memory and your cognitive thinking power to be better than when you were in your 20s or 30s. That's hard to believe, but it's already been proven. So that is the fact, and part of that fact is everybody's heard of neurotransmitters, right?
Yes.
So where do neurotransmitters come from? Because that's how your brain makes connections and stay active. Well, every single neurotransmitter comes from the food you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could eat the wrong food and have one neurotransmitter too much, and that can contribute to depression. Or you could have a nutrient that's too little. That can contribute to depression or anxiety or obsessive compulsive disease or even schizophrenia. So all of the neurotransmitters come from the food you eat. And when I was looking through some of my favorite foods, it occurred to me that what do you want to pick on? Flamin' Hots didn't have anything that my brain needed.
Okay, right.
It actually had MSG, which is a cytotoxin that damages brain cells. Not only that, how many people listening like Doritos? Hope I don't get in trouble, but all that stuff, Doritos and things that have MSG, monosodium glutamate, damages brain cells. It damages your nerves. So once we understand that the life force activators, the things that's in food that your body needs for you to have abundant life, you have to have respect for the food. You have to understand that plant, that food, is willingly giving its life to you so that you might live. This is part of the plan, how everything was designed. And so not only are there the nutrients you know about, there's a whole host of nutrients that science hasn't discovered yet.
Yep.
And as they discover them, they're going to find, oh, hey, it's something special in the skin of grapes. How many people know what that is? That's in the skin of grapes that helps your body.
Resveratrol.
Yes, it is. So, do I think you should have 2 or 3 bottles of wine a day so you can get enough resveratrol? Absolutely not. Don't even try, because the alcohol also is hurtful, over a certain amount. But because they can extract it, you can actually get nutrients that help your body heal itself. And they didn't know that 20 years ago. So we're at the point in time where the main thing you need is a new mindset and to take charge of what you eat, how much sleep you get, and you can make a change that before, pick a number, 1970, nobody knew all this stuff. So the number of Nobel Prizes that have discovered things, for an example, I can't quote the year, but when they discovered apoptosis or autophagy, these go exactly with, I call it, the secret of healing. The secret of healing is Ephesians 3:3. There's a time to kill. And that sounds harsh, but everybody knows that if your body has some precancer cells, you definitely want your body to kill those cells off. If you have cells that's not working, those are called senescent cells. Not only are they not working, they're causing other cells not to work.
Exactly.
You definitely want to kill those off. So your body is doing you a favor, and it gets rid of cells that don't work. Now, how many cells die every day? Somebody give me a
Millions, millions and millions.
million.
Millions.
60 million.
I didn't believe it either when I read it. 330 million cells every day die off, and the same number are reborn. So every single day, we take it for granted, but you are experiencing a rebirth. Your body is alive because it gets rid of old cells, a time to kill. There's a next verse, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. So this is the principle. And now that we know, we can show you the information or the studies or a graph that shows you one thing you need to rebuild is your microvascular blood flow. That's rebuilt by the endocalyx, which is the supplement. And we have seen in 9 days, somebody was totally changed from 70% blockage down to 20. And if you dare to tell your doctor that, he's going to say that's not possible. They're not going to believe that that's possible. So it's going to take 20 years, or at least 10, I don't know. So, you know, how could you tell your friends? Well, you're going to have to get some science, number one, some testimonies, number two. And the biggest testimony that you need is what? You need to try it so that you have a story to tell. And when you do that, you will notice that you're aging in reverse, because we can stop the blood flow problem, which is causing your cells and your organs not to work. And at least you will feel better. I will not be the one to tell you that you can live forever. But I will tell you, you could have a healthier life, and in the last 10 or 20 years of your life, not be sick, not have to be in a hospital, and not have all these multiple diseases that are preventable.
True.
So what can we do? Got to start from the beginning. That's why I tried to start today, not just endocalyx. Do you need to come get a glycocheck? I believe you do. Glycocheck is an instrument I have that will allow you to measure what your blood flow is. And once you see your number, you should be dedicating to getting that number, you know, up to as high as possible. Maybe you can't get it to 10, but the difference between 8 and 4 is tremendous. So we'll have, you know, handouts of things that can help explain it. But the main thing is, if you try it, you'll see a difference. And I dare say, if you try these 3 things, well, 4 things actually, try the endocalyx. You need to take 10,000 of vitamin D. You need to take omega-3, either fish oil or krill oil, or you can actually get it, you know, I have it at the office in a plant form. So it's plant-based. And you need vitamin C. Those are the 4 things that African Americans have worse than any other group in the United States. And so my goal is to help you help yourself to reduce breast cancer, colon cancer, all these cancers and heart disease by at least 50%. And this can happen in your world, in your family, and definitely when you notice it, you know, other people, you won't have to tell them. But other people will be telling you, hey, you look younger, you look better, looks like you got more energy. So go ahead, any question?
So Dr. T, can you briefly speak to the importance of detoxification? It's great to eat good and and take all of these wonderful things in. But when we already have a bunch of toxins floating around in our system, excess mucus, parasites, and the like, can you speak to the importance of
Absolutely.
cleansing? And then the second part of that is, you are well aware of our flat belly lifestyle cleanse. Can
Yes.
the calyx be taken during the cleanse, or should you wait until after the cleanse to take it?
But just remember, the endocalyx basically is food.
Mm-hmm.
It's food. It's the fucoidan, which is the seaweed that has the polysaccharides your body needs to replace the glycocalyx. It has amine sugars that attach to that, and then it includes antioxidants to prevent it from breaking down.
Awesome.
So if you're taking something to prevent the glycocalyx from breaking down, and you're taking something to build it up or restore it, then that's the best of both worlds. Now, the cleanse isn't necessarily going to harm that at all. And I've done the cleanse a couple of times, one 21 day and one 7 days. So I looked through all the ingredients, and I didn't see anything in there that would be harmful, that would mess up your blood flow, that would interfere with glycocalyx. So I did sort of a deep dive because I wanted to know, like, ashwagandha or all the different things in the tea, ingredients that's right on the label, and anybody here can look it up. You can, use Google, but you might have to get past the second or third page. And so, like I said before, the most important thing is that you start this journey and prove it to yourself. So should you do the cleanse? Absolutely. And it's funny, one guy I talked to, and he had a lot of sense. He was a comedian, but he also became a health nut, and that was Dick Gregory. So Dick Gregory said, people saying, well, I need to check with my doctor before I start trying to get healthy. He said, none of these people said I need to check with my doctor when I was drinking a fifth of whiskey and 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So he said, I made the change, and heck, the doctor you wanted me to check, he died 20 years ago. So, the disclaimer is, yes, you should check with your doctor. You got to say stuff like that. And the reason I say, without joking, you do need to check with your doctor is how many people, let's say, have high blood pressure, and I'm sorry to say, I don't know how to say it except just to be blunt. I can't stand when somebody says I'm not claiming that. That drives me nuts. Because I had a lady come in, she's in her, I guess, I don't remember, 40 or 50s. Her son was 23. He had really bad high blood pressure. And this was like 5 years before I met him. They came back to the office, and she said, well, I want you to check my son out. And I found out, okay, she had high blood pressure. He had high blood pressure for 5 years, didn't take anything. And now at 25, he's on dialysis because he got kidney failure.
Exactly.
So Black people get kidney failure 300% more than any other group. And that's due to high blood pressure. And the second thing that brings it on is untreated diabetes. So yeah, you need to go see your doctor, accept whatever treatments they're going to initiate for high blood pressure, diabetes, or whatever you got wrong. And then do these other treatments like the detox, change your diet, change your lifestyle. So that's how I started out, looking into both worlds, traditional medicine. I looked into, in college, homeopathic medicine. I took a course. That was the most interesting thing because it sounded crazy as heck. Add something to water and dilute it so many times it ain't in there no more. but the energy is in there. Okay, well, 40 years later, we're talking about energy medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a topic for another day, but the point I'm making is, yeah, get treated what's wrong. Well, I don't want to take medicine. Well, you don't want to have blood pressure so high that you end up on dialysis. So I know from reading the research, you can take blood pressure medicine exactly right and still have damage.
Exactly.
But they forgot to tell you, the studies also show, if you take vitamin D, you'll have less kidney damage. If you take omega-3 fish oil or the plant-based, your blood pressure will drop a little bit. If you exercise, your blood pressure will drop some. Here's one that no one's going to believe. Well, I shouldn't say that. It'll be hard to believe. But a child gets a toxic amount of fluorine just by brushing his teeth with toothpaste that has fluorine.
That's right.
I challenge anyone that has high blood pressure, stop all fluorine for 2 weeks. And a study showed 87% of people, their blood pressure dropped. Fluorine is a toxin. There's very little countries in Europe that allow fluorine in the water. Only here. So you got fluorine as a toxin. How many people know? I have patients who are, I'm just gonna say they're connected. So one of them, her husband works for the water reclamation. So she told me, "Hey doc, get a glass of water. You got a glass?" I said, "I got a glass." I poured the water out the faucet. He says, "Look at it close." I said, "What's that brown stuff floating in there?" He said, "That's my point. Sometimes when it rains hard, it has opened the gates, and that's what you think it is floating in there."
Mm-hmm.
So, second part of that story is, so people think, "Hey, I boil my water so, it gets rid of the toxin." No, it doesn't. Who told you that? If you boil water, the only thing you're doing is killing bacteria and viruses. How long would you have to boil Kool-Aid before it ain't red no more? You can't boil toxins out of water.
Exactly.
Now, scientifically, there's a couple of things you could boil out. If the boiling point of that liquid is lower than the boiling part 212 of water, then it evaporates. So what boils out? Alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
All those people who put, like, I don't know, beer or alcohol on their ribs or use alcohol, wine in their sauce, by the time you cook it, though, the alcohol is out, but you got the red flavor from the beer or the wine.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, if it's an herbicide or a pesticide, you can't boil it out.
Right.
And what they won't admit, about 10 years ago, the Chicago Water Study said, "Hey, we got a little bit of chromium in the water." Well, chromium is that stuff from Aaron Brockovich. If it's in the air, it causes lung cancer. But if it's in the water, it causes kidney failure. So here we go. The Black population has the worst vitamin D level. That means they're the most susceptible to kidney failure. And now they're drinking water that has chromium. So that's why it's a 300% higher rate of kidney failure in the Black community. So I'm here to tell you, I'm just reporting information that I read. Now I do research. I've done 4 clinical trials. I'm the principal investigator. So I know how to do clinical trials. I know how to do research. I know how to read the research. But let me tell you, other people know this, but they're just not telling me. Not only they're not telling you, but they're not telling your doctor. If your doctor knew, let's say vitamin D was so helpful, and he was taking 10,000 a day, but didn't tell you, I'd have a problem with that doctor. But my friends who are doctors, they don't know they should be taking that amount. Even when I tell them, they say stuff like, well, if that's true, then wouldn't we have heard it when we was at Rush or U of I or U of C when they were in medical school? I said, give me a break. You was in medical school 10, 20, 30 years ago. This stuff is just found out in the last 5 or 10 years. So of course you wouldn't know. So it's hard to break old habits and customs and tradition. Extremely hard.
Yeah.
But what I say is if you dedicate yourself to improving, then yeah, you'll do a detox. Yeah, you'll change your diet. Yeah, you'll start drinking filtered water, instead of tap water. Because every little thing will add up to be helpful. So it's getting to that hour.
Yes. So thank you so much, Dr. Thomas.
Okay.
So guys, the Endocalyx is in your back office and it is available. Dr. Thomas, I think he put, Dr. T, did you put your information in the chat? And I do see that we have one more question. And it is, how does Endocalyx Pro affect people on anticoagulants? Can you briefly speak to that?
Yeah. So what is the thing that determines whether you, how your blood clotting actually is done? That's the glycocalyx. So when people got spike protein, either from the vaccine or the COVID-19, it infected their endothelial cells that messed up the glycocalyx, and that's why people were getting blood clots. So actually the endothelium and the glycocalyx is what prevents blood clots. So it will not cause a problem in anything I've read in the last year and a half with blood clotting.
So there's no contraindication for people taking anticoagulants to actually also take Endocalyx.
Right.
Cool.
So of course I have to say what? Check with your doctor.
Well, the way I'd like to put it is let your doctor know what you are doing so that when your values start to improve, then they can assist you in changing your medication regimen.
Right.
One more question is, what were the supplements that you mentioned that were of the utmost importance?
What it's in there? Endocalyx, vitamin D, omega-3, and vitamin C.
And vitamin C. Okay.
Yeah, somebody said they went from 2,000 to 8,000 of vitamin D, and 2 days later, their blood pressure went down, and the doctor had to cut their medicine in half. I've had plenty of patients that I put on anything from D, Endocalyx, etc. And within a month or two before it was time for me to do their surgery, their doctor took them off all their blood pressure medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was mad and said, why am I meddling with her patients? I said, well, you had a patient on drugs for the last 10 years and ain't never got her off. I got her off in 2 months, and you mad at me?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you ask me what am I doing?
Okay.
All right.
That person.
So I'm gonna have to close out now.
Okay, well, we really appreciate your time and all of the wonderful information that you have shared with us, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the near future. And without further ado, we are going to turn it over to Dr. Roz and the community check-in. Dr. Roz, are you there? Dr.
Yes,
Roz?
yes, ma'am, I'm here.
All right. Thank you for your patience and allowing us to go over. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I'm going to make you the host, and I'm going to get out the way.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. And that being said, he led us right into our segue. Let me stop recording for a quick second.